Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is part 2 of the bowl season show here. We have 22 games on the slate. You've just gotten past the first 18. We got another 22 on the platter for you as we head into our Christmas season. We're not really going to recap any of these games. There has been much of interest to talk about, besides one game that our man Andy might want to make a point on here.
Famous Toastery Bowl, the inaugural famous Toastery Bowl. Great game. Let me say it was a ton of action, but one of the worst beats of my life. And I would just like to say the band list, Tom, Old Dominion is on it. They fold the fucking program. 28-0 lead in the second quarter, 35-14 lead going in the fourth quarter. Old Dominion -4. Absolute travesty that they did not cover that. Overtime. They let Western Kentucky get all the way back. They tied 35-35. They tied it with like 20 seconds left. They go into overtime. Old Dominion gets the ball down to the 2-yard line, has 4 tries to score a touchdown. They fail to do that. They get a false start called on them, move back 5 yards, kick a field goal. Oh, wait, Western Kentucky blocks it. Then they kick a field goal and win it. Just an absolute devastating beat. It's one of those you can never mark it as a win before the final whistle, fellas, and just it's absolutely fucking unbelievable. In the fucking famous Toastery Bowl, it is like Old Dominion. Are you kidding me? A nice little 1:30 game. We're trying to get through work. There's nothing going on. We're gonna throw a little bit of chat on Old Dominion. And I said to my coworkers, it was 21-0. I said, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. No. That's my one gripe of early bowl season. Old Dominion, you're absolutely banned. I don't think you should ever be allowed to play a football game again.
I believe a bad beat like that is calling, or going to be called going forward, getting brunched. The famous Toastery Bowl just brunching all over that 28-point lead you had there. But for everyone who is watching for these next upcoming 22 bowl games, obviously down in the timeline here, I will timestamp all the games. So if they haven't played already, you can skip right past them into the games you are interested in that haven't been played yet. And that'll move us into our first bowl here of the slate. We have the Quick Lane Bowl. It is Bowling Green taking on Minnesota. Andy, starting with you, my man. Who do you like in this one?
All right, the story here, guys. Have you heard about this? So the Minnesota quarterback, it's going to be the third stringer, Cole Kramer. He's the only quarterback on the roster for Minnesota. Ethan Kaliakmanis, the starter, and the backup, Drew Vioto, both entered the transfer portal. Cole Kramer had every intent of entering the transfer portal, had no intent of staying until the end of December. PJ Fleck found a nice little $30,000 to keep Kramer around for this Quick Lane Bowl. So their quarterback, their third string quarterback, they had to pay $30,000 to stay in Minneapolis for the bowl game. And then, they're 5-7, and the only 5-7 team that made a bowl, but they have, they've got $30,000 on this, fellas. So I'm going to take the Gophers, unfortunately.
Would that be a worse bad beat than your Old Dominion bad beat, losing $30,000 just to keep a third stringer for this game?
But yes, because I had $30 invested on the game. They have $30,000 invested on the game, so I guess I'll give them that one.
I'm sure there's a graduate lawyer or doctor from the game that is going to be watching this game pretty tightly here. Tom, who do you like in this one?
Well, the Quick Lane Bowl will get some quick analysis. I'll tell you that much. Bowling Green this year, I watched the game of theirs. They played Kent State. They looked impressive. They blew it late, unfortunately. Connor Bazelak is now on his third collegiate team. Very excited for him in this game, along with Terrion Stewart and tight end Harold Fannin Jr., their number one offensive weapon. Minnesota has 5 wins. They really shouldn't be here, guys, if we're being realistic.
Correct.
Based off record. Andy can tell you everything you need to know about the Big Ten West. But Bowling Green has some dogs on defense. Jalen Husky and Jordan Olodokun with 4 interceptions each. Now, Minnesota's lost their last 4 games. They haven't won in over 6 weeks, so this one is easy for me. I'm going with the underdogs, Bowling Green. Minnesota's favored by 3.5 in this game, which I guess, you're looking at the G5 team, lower tier team. So I guess they get seniority there, but Bowling Green wins.
Yeah, short analysis from me as well, maybe even a little bit shorter. Like you guys mentioned, Minnesota comes into this game 5-7. Really shouldn't be here, but needed to fill a spot. The QBs here combined for 15 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Just god-awful stats there. One thing that people might want to know regarding how bad this game is, tickets going for as low as $2 to get into this game. Do you have $2 in your pocket? I think you could probably leave your house if you live in Detroit, find that amount of money on your way to the stadium and get in if you really wanted to watch this game. But I don't think you do. Minnesota wins, I guess. But do they really for being in this bowl at 5-7? I don't think so. But yeah, I'm taking the Gophers here. Next up, we have the First Responders Bowl. It is Texas State versus Rice. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Well, Rice is without JT Daniels on his, this was his, fourth stop in college football. He is medically retired due to a concussion. Hopefully everything's okay with him, but he will not be available. AJ Padgett, the freshman, getting a start for the Owls here. I believe, TJ Finley is the Texas State starting quarterback still. I believe he will be getting the start. Ismail Mahdi is the top rusher for the Bobcats. 1,209 yards, 10 touchdowns in only 12 games. In 12 games, that's what they play in the regular season. I shouldn't say in only 12 games. And also a threat out of the backfield, 15.3 yards per catch on 18 receptions this season. I'm going to take Texas State here in the bowl game due to the quarterback situation.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, I also like Texas State. They finished second in the Sun Belt West. They averaged 36 points per game this year. TJ Finley can throw the rock around. He has good receivers in Joe Hobart and Cole Wilson. Ben Bell, too, pretty solid off the edge. Unfortunate there for JT Daniels. Who's going to get the ball to Luke McCaffrey, though, right? 12 touchdowns on the year. He's a threat. Can the offensive line give them time against those good edge rushers, one of them I just mentioned? So I don't think they will. Texas State's favored by 4. Shout out First Responders. Thank you for everything you do. Texas State wins the game.
Look at that. Tommy giving a quick shout out to the First Responders there. Andy, come on. Where were you on that?
Well, I'm a gentleman, and I knew Tom was going to do it,
Okay.
so I let my friend do it. Brian, it's pretty
That
actually
is-
disgusting of you to put the blame onto me and not let the shine stay on the first responders like Tom wanted it to.
That is so generous of you, Andy. Letting the New Yorker do it. But yeah, Daniels finally leaves college football. Not the way you want him to go out with an injury, but I think even without that, it was finally his time. He's been all over the country, switching teams. Yeah,
Literally,
Texas State has been one of the most interesting. Yeah, no, seriously. They've been one of the most interesting teams to me because of the way they utilize the portal in the offseason. We saw a lot of, like the big P5 teams complain about, the portal's going to be, bought up by, all the big spenders. But they played it well. Texas State went out and got some players who, might have been overlooked at bigger teams, and they went and put together a really good squad. They had a really good season. They had a good win against South Alabama, who's a bowl team, and then another close game against Coastal Carolina, also qualified in the bowl. And yeah, TJ Finley, I think he's only a sophomore, maybe a junior. As far as I know, he's still playing in this game. And then Andy, like you mentioned, Ismail Mahdi, 1,000+ rusher here. I think they've got the most dynamic offense and team, whole team, I should say. So I'm taking them over Rice here. Next up, we have the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. It is Kansas versus UNLV. Andy, who do you like here?
I believe Jason Bean's still going to get the start here for Kansas, but I do think Jalen Daniels announced a few weeks ago he's coming back for another year at Kansas. Hopefully a year where he can stay healthy, because a full year of Jalen Daniels will be scary. I feel like we have yet to get one of those. But I mean, will the Rebels be able to stop the Jayhawks on the ground? I mean, they're averaging over 5.5 yards per carry, and they have one of the way tougher schedule this year. Obviously playing in the Big 12 than UNLV did. This is UNLV's best season since 1984. So I'm sure they're trying to end that on a high note, especially after dropping their last 2. But I just don't think they're going to have enough to beat the Jayhawks. I believe Kansas is favored by 11.5, 12 at the moment. So give me Kansas.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, Jason Bean starting this game most likely, barring anything crazy. Look for Devin Neal, 15 touchdowns on the year, over 1,200 rushing yards. Really good with ball security. I like him a lot. Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I don't know if I think the line is guaranteed at 12.5, but UNLV has lost their last 2 games. Will Jaden Mayava be able to not get picked off in this game is my question. 8 interceptions this year. Mello Dotson will be staring down his number 1 wide receiver, Ricky White, over 80 catches on the season. For his benefit, they do have 3 running backs with over 400 rushing yards, so he can pretty much pick and choose whatever the team feels that can complement the offense. But UNLV's on a little cold spell right now. So in this one, I'm going with the Power 5 football program in Kansas.
Yeah, I can't even counter you like I want to with those interception stats, because he did only have 14 touchdowns to go along with that. So he had a steady season, Mayava. I think we all liked him, what he did with this UNLV team this year. He did have 2,800 yards, But I'm going Kansas as well. Being obviously, not their number one choice at Kansas, but he stepped in and did pretty well. Him and Neal, they're an exciting pair fit for the Kansas offense. Not any crazy stats this year, but I think they'll be good enough to help Kansas over the line here. I think this might be a high scoring one, so this will probably be one I turn on. Next up, we have the Military Bowl. Andy, I'll let you thank the military first on this one, since Tom got the first responders, but it's Virginia Tech versus Tulane. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to the troops. Appreciate you for setting me up on that one, Brian. Thank you for all you do and all the courage you have. Courage that I definitely do not have. So, Tulane, they're in a pretty rough spot. They lost head coach Willie Fritz. He is going over to Houston. He's also bringing the offensive and defensive coordinators with him. They are planning to stick around, though, to coach the bowl game. Michael Pratt, their starting quarterback, is sitting out the Military Bowl to prepare for the NFL draft. Once again, shout out to the troops. Thanks again, Brian. Their backup quarterback, Kai Horton, is in the transfer portal, so they are down to their third string, Justin Ibieta. I don't know if I'm saying that right. They also have lost Chris Bozell, Alex Bauman, Devion Neal, and Keith Cooper Jr. to the transfer portal. Give me the Hokies. I just think Tulane has too many things kind of stacked up against them in this one.
All right, Tom.
It's an interesting game to break down, right? Virginia Tech, they've had an up and down season. Kyron Drones at quarterback, up and down for him. He's pretty good at taking care of the football, but doesn't blow you away. They also have a good edge rusher, Antoine Powell-Ryland, 9.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Justin Ibieta likely to start. They still have Malachi Hughes in the backfield, but they don't have many offensive weapons right now without Michael Pratt. He commanded that offense pretty well. Once again, shout out to the military. Virginia Tech favored by 10.5 in this one. I trust that despite having 5 less wins. Folks, don't let the records deceive you in this game. Don't let them trick you. Virginia Tech is the better football team right now with who's playing, and they will win this game.
Yeah, I agree. They have been super up and down, especially the last 5. It's been win-loss, win-loss, win. So you would think that they would lose this game if history is to continue. But, without Fritzy, without Michael Pratt, I think Tulane's going to struggle a little bit here. I know all too well, coming from UCF, what can happen when your coach leaves you right before a bowl game from an AAC team. So, I think Tulane's probably going to go out and play this game pretty hard. I don't know how much Virginia will care. But I like Drones this season, despite the fact that Virginia Tech wasn't that fun to watch. He did all right. We didn't talk about that much, but I think Virginia Tech gets it done here. Next up, we have the Duke's Mayo Bowl. You get a giant shot of a giant can of mayonnaise there, thanks to the Duke's Mayo Bowl graphics team. It is UNC taking on West Virginia. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the Mayo out there as well for this bowl game. Drake May, Tez Walker out of the bowl game for the Tar Heels, as well as all ACC linebacker Cedric Gray on a defense that really does not have a lot of weapons. That was giving up over 500 yards a game near the end of the season. The Tar Heels do still have Amarian Hampton, one of the best running backs in the country, 1,400 rushing yards on the year, 16 total touchdowns. He's gone for 100+ on the ground 7 times this year, and the Tar Heels are going to need it once again in the Duke's Mayo Bowl if they want to cover Mac Brown in that Mayo, get the Mayo dump after the game. I don't know if there's going to be enough. Give me the Mountaineers.
All right, Tom.
Look, this is another game where you have 2 teams that one might have underachieved a little this year. The other might have overachieved a little bit. I want to shout out Neil Brown for proving me wrong in my week 1 show predicting that he would be fired. He did a great job coaching West Virginia this season. And part of that is due to Garrett Green's play at quarterback. Garrett Green, 28 total touchdowns this year, 15 through the air, 13 on the ground, just 4 interceptions. They have 2 great running backs rushing over 700 yards apiece. And Beanie Bishop Jr. is special. First off, special name. That is one heck of a name, Beanie Bishop Jr. 20 passes defended this season and 4 interceptions. Those are like Sauce Gardner type numbers. I maybe shouldn't put them in the same sentence, but when I look at UNC, we don't know what we're going to get with Drake May being out. UNC did lose 4 out of their last 6 games of the season after starting 6-0. And Andy mentioned Hampton. He's played like an All-American this year, 15 touchdowns. So yeah, with Tez Walker, who almost didn't play this year, heading for the NFL draft, I mean, you're looking at potentially Bryson Nesbitt as your number one target on offense. So give me West Virginia in this one. They're favored by 6.5. I actually like the spread there for West Virginia, believe it or not.
Yeah, obviously the big story is Drake May obviously was never going to play in this game. Duke's Mayo Bowl does not carry that weight that other bowls do. So that'll be a big problem for this UNC offense. They're going to have to lean super hard on Omari and Hampton here. But I'm kind of curious what workload they even want to give him. He's young, he's only a sophomore, and it's kind of a meaningless bowl game. So, it's not like you're going to give him 40 carries to go out there and try and beat West Virginia just to get a bunch of Mayo poured all over you. West Virginia, they had a pretty good season, nothing special, but a good classic West Virginia season, really, is the best way to put it. They lost to 3 really good teams, and then also Houston, which is kind of like they have that one game every year where they lose to someone that you just don't expect them to. Eric Green, okay, above average. The production, was above average. I do like CJ Donaldson at running back, though. I think he's going to smash through some of these UNC defenders who are very soft, very weak. He's 6'1", I think, 240 pounds. Yeah, as far as UNC, I mean, like you said, they lost 4 of their last 6, and they barely scraped by Duke in overtime without Riley Leonard. So I'm going to take West Virginia here. Next up, we have the Holiday Bowl. It's Louisville at number 15, taking on an unranked USC. Who thought we'd be saying that at the end of this season? Andy, who do you like here?
No Caleb Williams for the Trojans. Malachi Nelson, the number 1 recruit in last year's recruiting class, in the transfer portal. So not really sure who's starting at quarterback for USC. You have Jamari Thrash, who won't be playing for the Cardinals, as well as Jawar Jordan. I don't know. This one's I guess I'll take Louisville. They're favored in the game. They're going to have more. I mean, I feel like they'll give more of a fuck about the Holiday Bowl than USC will. And USC was just kind of a dumpster fire down the stretch. So yeah, give me the Cardinals.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, USC is lately a shitty football program. I have no shame in saying that. They also don't have Brendan Rice in this game. Brendan Rice opted for the NFL draft. They've lost 5 out of their last 6. Louisville's lost 2 games this year to Kentucky and Florida State in the ACC championship. Jack Plummer's been a little rocky this year with 12 interceptions. He hasn't been very good. I think he needs to do more of what his father used to do. Play action bootlegs. I want to see what this Louisville offense can do. They just acquired Tyler Shaw, I believe, from the transfer portal. So there's going to be competition there next season. Jawar Jordan will not play for the Cardinals at the running back position. So Isaac Dorendo will be carrying the load in the backfield. But I still like Ashton Gillott and Devin Neal to have good games. The Cardinals are 10-3 this year, largely in part to their defense, guys. They held Florida State to 16 points. Granted, Jordan Travis didn't play, but that's still really, really good. And outside of Caleb Williams, there's not many other names for this USC team. I would rather take Tommy DeVito's high school team's defense over USC's in this game. Give me Louisville.
Yeah, no Caleb Williams. And I think that, there's tiny rumblings that he might come back based on, how the draft was looking. There were some teams he didn't want to go to. But I think the second that the writing was on the wall that he was out, Malachi knew instantly he was just going to dip out of there. I don't know how much the money was involved, but that program is just a mess right now. I mean, if you just watch Caleb Williams, Heisman winner Caleb Williams go through the hell that he just went through for a 7-5 season, I'm definitely doing what Malachi Nelson did and hopping in the transfer portal as well. Their third stringer, by the way, is Miller Moss. I assume is going to be the starter for this game. He went 23 of 32 this season, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I mean, God, you hate to pick Louisville because Plummer just looks so bad, so bad. But I think the rest of the team still is going to, like you said, Andy, USC doesn't care about this game. They don't care about this game at all. So I think Louisville takes this one. Next up, we have the Texas Bowl. It is Oklahoma State at number 20 taking on an unranked Texas A&M. Who do you like here, Andy?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I am going to go ahead and go with the Cowboys just based off that, they're coming off a Big 12 championship game appearance. They didn't play very well in that, but they still have Ollie Gordon's in the transfer portal, so I'm not sure if he's playing. I think Bowman's playing. Maybe, yes. Bowman, this should be his last game of his college career, so I would assume that he's playing. Yeah, give me the Cowboys here. I can't in good faith pick Texas A&M. They stink.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, more reason not to pick Texas A&M in this game. First off, how the fuck are they favored by 2.5 points. They just hired Mike Elko from Duke, so they're rolling with interim head coach Elijah Robinson to coach the bowl game. Max Johnson will transfer to North Carolina. His brother and tight end Jake Johnson will be following in his footsteps. So if you have two of your top players transferring for North Carolina, I don't care.
Is it their third school now?
Yeah. LSU, A&M, and now North Carolina. Man, what a downfall for Max Johnson. Now that I think of it, that's fucking awful. You go from the SEC to the ACC. That's a huge downgrade. And they'll be rolling with Jalen Henderson in this game at quarterback, guys, who started the last 3 games of the season. He wasn't awful. Not to mention their best linebacker opted out for the NFL draft, second-team All-American Edgerrin Cooper. Alan Bowman, not only is he starting the bowl game, guys, he is seeking another year of NCAA eligibility. Will he be granted that extra year? That's what I want to know. And when you have a running back that can score 20 touchdowns and run for 1,600 yards, I mean, man, how about them Cowboys rolling with Oklahoma State?
Yeah, this is an interesting one for me only because I mean, both quarterback situations are not great. I do agree that Texas A&M probably has a slight upper hand here. I don't think Max Johnson, even if he had stayed, would have kept the starting position. But I think this is big for Texas A&M because of the way that they recruit a lot with money nowadays. But a lot of these teams have money now. The NIL collectives are at a lot of the big schools, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC. So for Texas A&M, I don't know if they have that advantage that they had in year 1 of NIL, where they can just throw piles of money where other schools can't. And I think they need to now prove that this program is on the right track. They've gotten rid of Jimbo Fisher, like you said, they're bringing in Elko, but they still need to prove to the kids that they're trying to recruit that even if they can match the money, they need to have a good team here. So, and then Andy, you said Ollie Gordon is transferring?
I believe he's in the transfer portal, yeah.
All right, well, then I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Aggies here because that's, the biggest piece of this Oklahoma State offense, probably the best player on their team, so I'm going Aggies here. Next up, we have the Fenway Bowl. These games starting on December 28th. It is number 24 SMU taking on Boston College. Andy, who do you like?
Give me SMU here. Kevin Jennings is going to get the start once again, but he has not looked bad for the Ponies when he's been in there since taking over for Preston Stone. Boston College, I don't think is very good. I think they're one of the worst Power 5 programs. It's actually incredible they got to 6-6. I don't know if you guys have heard of this guy, but I don't know if I'm saying this name right, but looking at the Eagles that are in the transfer portal, Edge Shida-Silla,
yep.
that's an incredible name. Absolutely incredible name. I hope he finds a good home. But yes, give me the Ponies.
All right, Tom.
This is a tough game to evaluate, honestly, for me. Looking into it, SMU jumped into the top 25 late in the season. Their only losses were to Oklahoma and TCU. They're on a 9-game winning streak, averaging 40 points per game. Preston Stone is out for the year. So, as Andy mentioned, redshirt freshman Kevin Jennings at QB. What does it for me, guys, is tight end R.J. Maryland. 7 touchdowns on 34 catches. That is 1 touchdown on average for almost every 5 catches. So based on that stat alone, I'm sorry, Thomas Castellanos, you suck this year. You threw 13 picks in 12 games. Give me SMU Mustangs.
Yeah, I'm going to go SMU here as well. I think Jennings has done a pretty good job in his short time starting so far. He's got quite an arm. SMU really knows how to recruit guys with arms. I feel like they're one of those teams. Fresno State also in that grouping. SMU, yeah, 11-2. Unfortunate not to get the New Year's Six Bowl nod over Liberty. Obviously, committee, felt Liberty had a better season. You could argue either way, I think. I put both teams about even, so I wouldn't say that they made the wrong decision here. But interestingly, ESPN, giving SMU an 84% chance to win this game. I mean, Boston College is still a P5 school, but I guess SMU, even their losses, they looked pretty good in. So the all-around better team, I think here. I'm going to take the Ponies as well. 9th game here, we have the Bad Boys Mower Pinstripe Bowl, one of the best sponsors in bowl history here as they move around. It is Rutgers taking on Miami. Andy, who do you like here?
This is going to be an interesting game. I feel like it's a tough one to call here. I believe Wimsat's playing for Rutgers. I believe Managa is playing because he has announced that he's coming back. Christian Dremel is coming back as well. But Monangai was the Big Ten's leading rusher this season, 1,099 yards, 6 games with 100 plus for the Scarlet Knights. They do make a bowl game, but they have lost 4 straight. They dropped their final 4 games of the year. Ja'Kuri Brown will get the start for the Hurricanes. Tyler Van Dyke has announced he's coming over to the Big Ten. He's going to play at Wisconsin next year. The Hurricanes also without Don Chaney Jr., some couple guys on defense, Shafari Harvey and Chance Williams out as well. But when I last checked the line today, it was like 1.5, I believe, for the Hurricanes. I'm going to stick with the Big Ten against my better judgment here. I'm going to take the Scarlet Knights.
All right, Tom.
They're playing at Yankee Stadium, guys. Rutgers, less than 90 miles away from Yankee Stadium. Just want to throw that out there. About an hour and 30-minute drive. Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke commits to Wisconsin. That's awesome for them. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Miami, not a good year for them. They're favored by just 1. They do have 2 players with 7.5 sacks, but I mean, when you look at Rutgers, they kind of had like a good season, a little bit. I know they ended at 6-6. It's not how they started. You know, they ended on a 4-game losing streak, but look who they played: Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State, and Maryland, and they were leading for a decent amount of that Ohio State game. Just goes to show you how trash Ryan Day is. Look, you have Kyle Monaghan trying to follow in the footsteps of Isaiah Pacheco at Rutgers, and he's had a phenomenal year, averaging 5 yards per carry. Rutgers, hometown bias, guys. It's easy.
Well, I guess I got to go for the sweep here. Andy goes with Rutgers. We got the Pinstripe Bowl in Tommy's home state here for the Scarlet Knights. Yeah, Miami's -1, so I think the brand name is getting them that point there. I think the teams with who they lost, Tyler Van Dyke is in the portal again or something, right? Anyone know status on him?
I thought he committed to Wisconsin. Did he not?
He did commit to Wisconsin.
Okay, so he's already committed then. So, yeah, I mean, Miami looked okay. Rutgers did struggle towards the end, but like you said, very good teams. I'm not as high on Wimsat, 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But I mean, who's your weapon on Miami right now? Your leading rusher is Parrish Jr. He had 579 yards with, I don't think, any lengthy injury. So the Miami team is just going to be absolutely depleted for production on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going Rutgers as well for the sweep here. Next up, we have the Pop-Tarts Bowl in my local Orlando, Florida here. It is NC State taking on Kansas State. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Once again, I believe Avery Johnson will be getting the start here for Kansas State with Will Howard in the transfer portal as well. Let's just add him to the list of quarterbacks that are in the portal. Brennan Armstrong will be getting the start for the Wolfpack, who, I mean, I feel like they quietly finished the year very strong, 9-3. They've won 5 straight. Kansas State still look good. I mean, Avery Johnson did play in 7 games this year. Obviously, they brought him in as more of a runner and a different look for the offense. But, you know, give me the Wolfpack here. They're playing really well. They've won 5 straight. I think they continue the streak.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, so in this game, what I'm looking for is who wants it more. It's as simple as that. There's a couple logistics here to go over. We know Brendan Armstrong playing his final game with the Wolfpack. Grayson McCall was acquired in the transfer portal, so the Carolina guy stays local. Their offense, though, the Wolfpack scares me a little bit. Kevin Concepcion is really their only legit weapon. And their best first-team All-American linebacker, Peyton Wilson, still undecided at this time of the recording if he will play in this bowl game. He has 138 tackles, 6 sacks, 3 interceptions, a forced fumble and recovery. For a linebacker, guys, he's going to the NFL next year. 5-game winning streak, finished 3rd in the ACC. They're hot. Kansas State loses Will Howard. I think he committed to USC.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting to watch. Kansas State, they've lost a dozen players to the transfer portal. That includes Kobe Savage and Nate Matlock specifically. Chris Kleeman defended team culture, and I'm with him. Avery Johnson will start. Offensive lineman Cooper Beebe, who's a projected early 2nd-round pick, said it himself. This team is all in. Now, look, that's just the nature of college football now, guys. There's money floating around. There's NIL. There's nothing wrong with Kansas State's culture. That's the last thing that I think should be questioned here. Unfortunately, tight end Ben Sinnott opted out for the NFL draft, but they still have DJ Giddens at running back, who's solid. Phillip Brooks, really good weapon with 5 touchdowns on the year. However, I think NC State is the slightly better team in this one. They're ranked. They're 9-3. They are underdogs on paper, which is why I'm going to roll with them and side with Andy here once again.
Are we gonna have one of those episodes? Uh, Actually, I think we've been pretty even so far. Not going same team across the board. But yeah, I think this is actually a really even matchup here. NC State will, I guess, now with the better offense here. Now that Will Howard is gone, like you said, to USC, Kansas State with a better defense. My biggest concern is actually what you just mentioned, Tom, the Sanat not playing in this game, because that would have been my pick for the safe option for Avery Johnson to go to when he needs some yards in this game. Giddens is really good, but NC State, they looked fairly good this whole season. I mean, the ACC wasn't super strong this year, so you can't really look at any particular game and be like, that game is the turning point. That's why I'm picking this team. That's why they're ranked so high. They played well against Clemson, I guess, is the best one I could go to. But yeah, in terms of losing Will Howard, I think that's too big of a piece here for Kansas State to overcome. And like you said, it's not also that secondary piece. Next up, we have the Alamo Bowl. It's number 14 Arizona taking on number 12 Oklahoma. Tom, I'll switch it up here. I'll start with you on this one.
So with this game, Arizona had a really good second half of the season, and they're actually favored in this game over Oklahoma. They ended on a 6-game winning streak. Noah Fifita won Pac-12 Freshman Offensive Player of the Year, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Tatora McMillan, outstanding young receiver. Jacob Cohen has not declared yet, 11 touchdowns, so he will be available in this game, along with their tight end, who has really come on as of late, finding holes in the defense. They've done a good job drawing up plays for him. Tanner McLaughlin has had a solid year as well. Can't forget about the tight end. And look, Oklahoma lost Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. This was an offense that averaged over 42 points per game this year. So Jackson Arnold will get his first career start. He is the new signal caller. He still has Drake Stoops, Nick Anderson. Danny Stutzman on defense announced he will return to the Sooners for 2024. He will forego the NFL draft. Also, Billy Bauman Jr., the same thing. 6 picks on the year. He's back in 2024 as well. So their best 2 defenders are back, but it's not enough with Jackson Arnold making his first career start, guys. I flipped the switch once again. Give me Arizona in this game. Pac-12 over Big 12. The first one that I'm not so sure about, but I'm riding this one. This is the one game tonight where I'm be like, yep, that's what I'm doing. Arizona.
Yeah, so the story here, obviously Dylan Gabriel to Oregon, along with Dante Moore. Not sure what was going on with that decision. I feel like he's going to sit behind Gabriel, at least for the Gabriel's last season. It's the classical double transfer by Gabriel there. They also lose their second and third string running backs to the portal. The offense is going to be a bit barren, I guess is the best way to put it. But getting Stutzman back and Bowman is super huge. I was looking that up pre-show to see what their decision was going to be. I didn't find either of those yet due to the technical difficulties that I was having. But yeah, that's big for Oklahoma, not just to get them back out of the draft, but the fact that because they're staying, they're still staying at Oklahoma with the way NIL is making transfers go all over the place. But yeah, Arizona defense has 6 different guys with an interception this year, 44 pass deflections, led by Takario Davis, who has 15 of those by himself. And then my player to watch for this one is Taitearoa McMillan out of Hawaii, 6'5", 210 pounds. Got some Mike Evan vibes there at wide receiver for them. He's averaging over 15 yards a catch. No Fafita is going to hit this man up against that weak Big 12 Big 12 defense of Oklahoma. And I think Arizona takes this one. Next up, we have Clemson.
I don't get to.
Oops, I forgot I started with Tom. Sorry. Apologies, Andy.
Yeah, I guess it is what it is. But so I'm with you guys here. I'm also on Arizona. I just think there's too much stacked up against Jackson Arnold here. A lot thrown at him, kind of trial by fire for your first start. There's really only one guy sitting out for Arizona, and that's Jordan Morgan, who's declared for the draft, their left tackle. But if you look over on the Oklahoma side, offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby took the head coaching job at Mississippi State. He's gone. Andrell Anthony, they haven't had him since week 6, so I guess that's not a huge deal. But 2 guys that have opted out, offensive tackle Tyler Guyton and center Andrew Rame will not be available for the bowl game. I mean, those are 2 guys. I mean, Guyton's played over 600 snaps. Rame's played over 800 snaps this year. Those are 2 guys that have been a staple on the offensive line that Arnold is going to be without in this game. I think Fafita's been incredible for this year. But yeah, give me the Wildcats.
Now you know why I stick in the same order, Andy, Tom, myself, because give myself one shot and I screw it up. All right, moving on to the next one for real this time. It is the Gator Bowl. We have number 22 Clemson taking on Kentucky. Going back to the usual order here. Andy, I'll start with you. Who do you like here?
This is a tough one. I believe Klubnik's still starting. I believe Clemson at pretty much full strength for this one. I haven't seen anybody crazy um, gone besides Andre Makuba is in the transfer portal. Bo Collins as well. But other than that, I'm pretty sure they're going to have most of their guys back. Will Shipley is in there as well. Give me Clemson. I'm just not. I haven't been sold on Kentucky this season. I'm not sure they're going to have enough to beat the Tigers here.
All right, Tom.
Clemson really came on late this year. They had a slow start to the season. Everyone's talking about Dabo Swinney, potentially even his job. They right the ship. They righted the ship. That's what they did. Will Shipley's been back and forth. He's yet to decide his future, what he's doing. If he does declare, which I don't think he will at this point, Phil Maffa, 900 yards and 9 scores. They lost wide receiver Bo Collins to Notre Dame. Barrett Carter announced he's returning to Clemson next season. I don't know about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. status. I don't think he's mentioned anything yet. But they did lose Makuba, like Andy said. When I look at Kentucky, they've already required 5 players in the transfer portal for next season, one of them being UGA backup quarterback Brock Vandegrift and Ohio State backup running back Chip Trayanum. So yeah, it'll still be Devin Leary at quarterback, former ACC quarterback, so he's very familiar with Clemson. He's played against them a couple times, but I don't think it gives them much of an edge here. Dabo Swinney should be embarrassed. His team is playing in the Gator Bowl. I mean, they're only favored by 4 points as well. But I mean, give me Clemson. I can't even say their name because I'm so fed up with their coach and everything that's been circulating all season. I'm just mad that they still rock Notre Dame that one Saturday. So, but yeah, let's pick Clemson.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of sick about talking about Dabo. Won't he get fired? I think everyone maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of people think his time is probably up. They've got a culture there. I just don't know if it's the best one at this time. I think they kind of had their peak with Trevor Lawrence, and they've just been a middling team ever since. But I do think they're better than Kentucky here without Leary. I wasn't sold on either team this season, but like you said, Clemson finished strong. They're bringing back a lot of guys, like Andy said, which, like I said, is kind of part of that culture. Dabo refuses to go to the transfer portal, so I guess when you do that, you have to find a way to convince everyone to stay. Yeah, they had that win over Notre Dame. They beat a ranked UNC, and then they went on the next week to South Carolina, their in-state rival, and beat them too. So a nice way to finish the season for them. I think they finish Kentucky off as well. Next up, game number 13. I am going to go back to Tommy because it is his team. Andy, I'll definitely remember to hit you up after this one. It is Oregon State at number 19, taking on number 16, Notre Dame, in the Sun Bowl. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Tom, who do you like here?
We went out and got Sam Hartman all year to play in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. So I am absolutely thrilled. Notre Dame favored by 6.5 in this game. They're 9-3. Oregon State 8-4. I'm very disappointed that DJ Ukulele is not playing in this game, and neither is Sam Hartman. Ukulele has transferred once again. We'll continue to say his name incorrectly next year intentionally. Ben Gulbranson will start for the Beavers at quarterback. They ended the year with tough losses to Washington and Oregon. Damian Martinez is doubtful for this game. That's their one really big weapon on offense. The other one that I could think of, the only other one, is their tight end Jack Belling, who has 8 touchdowns on just 29 catches this year. And Notre Dame's Maris Leafau has declared for the NFL draft. So J.D. Bertrand will have to do a lot of work over the middle of the field against Jack Belling. Now, let's turn the page here and talk about the Irish. Audric Estime, 18 touchdowns. He's gone. He opted out. Several wide receivers have entered in their names into the transfer portal. Tobias Merriweather, gone. Rico Flores Jr., gone. Braylon James. Chris Tyree, Holden Stays, gone. Jeremiah Love will get the first crack at being Audric Estime's replacement in this bowl game. I'm very excited to see it. Our offensive coordinator really held Sam Hartman back this year, in my opinion. He took the Troy head coaching job. That's Gerard Parker. He'll be heading there. Wide receivers coach Mike Brown has been hired. Wide receivers coach was awful this year. Steve Angeli will start his first career game. Notre Dame won a bowl game last year with a backup quarterback against South Carolina. Angeli did have 4 touchdown passes in relief this year of Sam Hartman, so he does have some experience out there. And I believe we're rolling with Gino Giudugli to be the offensive coordinator. He is the current quarterback's coach. So, yep, that's right, Andy. Uh, Other opt-outs for Notre Dame besides Sam Hartman, Maris Liufau, Audric Estime, who I mentioned, um, Cam Hart, and both our starting tackles, guys. Both our starting tackles, Joe Alt and Blake Fisher, have declared for the NFL draft. So, where do we go from here? We rely on our defense. That's what we do best. JD Bertrand will play. Jack Kaiser, back for a sixth season. Xavier Watts, 7 picks. He's likely coming back. Named the first team All American. We have a lot of guys coming in. But this is the one concern I have about this game is the Beavers defense too on the other end. They rank 10th in the nation, averaging 3 sacks per game. Will Joe Alt and Blake Fisher's replacements be able to hold up against the Beavers front? I think they do just enough. Notre Dame wins but fails to cover.
All right, Andy.
Yeah, I don't know what more I can say. Tom pretty much covered it. You got Angeli starting. Estime is out. The Beavers going with Ben Goldbranson. He was the third string quarterback this year. I believe he was the starter for them last year. Damian Martinez, their leading rusher, suspended for this game, will not play. Give me the Irish.
Yeah, I want to go with Irish here because they had, a rougher season than I would have liked with Sam Hartman. I thought this was their for sure a playoff year for them. I say it all the time, but the quarterback is the one thing that you guys have needed, like an elite quarterback to go all the way. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this year. I'm gonna go with Oregon State here only because when looking and listening, as you just heard Tom rally off like 50 of those transfers and NFL draft players that won't be playing this game. The only side of the ball that seems intact is the Oregon State defense. So I'm kind of regretting not putting the under on my parlay card, which we'll go over later in our parlay segment. But I think Oregon State's defense is going to hold this one. I'm going to call for a pick 6 here from Oregon State. They hit the under, and Audric Estime. Wait, sorry, he is not playing?
He's out.
I was going to give him 3 touchdowns. He should have played. But yeah, I'm taking the Beavers here. All right, next up, we have the Liberty Bowl. It's Memphis versus Iowa State. Andy, who do you like here?
I think this is actually going to be a really good game. You've got a high-powered Tiger offense averaging just a shade under 40 points per game, and the Cyclones only allowing just right over 21 points a game. So, which one of those teams or which one of those sides of the ball wins? Which one of those sides of the ball comes out on top? I believe Iowa State is they're 5 out of their last 7 that they've won. Memphis also a really impressive season. They've only lost to Missouri, SMU, and Tulane. So an SEC team that's really good. And then Tulane and SMU, 2 of the top G5 teams in the country. I think, give me Memphis. I think they pull off an upset here. I think they take out the Cyclones.
All right, Tom.
Iowa State's favored by 9.5. So despite the worst record, I think I'm going with them here. Matt Campbell leading a tough team. Rocco Becht at quarterback this year, 20 touchdowns. They have 2 receivers, Higgins and Noel, each with over 700 receiving yards. And the Cyclones defense, they're very good at doing one thing, forcing turnovers. The one concern is Memphis's offense, but their opponents aren't as good as Iowa State's. So if you put these teams in the same conference, their records probably level out, or Iowa State might even have a better record than Memphis potentially. I do like Seth Hennigan. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. He's done a lot of good things this year. Blake Watson on the ground is scary. But Iowa State, if they can pressure Seth Hennigan and focus on stopping the run early, make them one-dimensional, they win this football game. I think they do enough of it to get by Memphis.
All right, yeah, this is an interesting one. Obviously, coming from the AAC, I've watched a lot of Memphis. They're always a fun offense to watch, high scoring. Seth Hennigan, obviously a big part of that. 3,500 yards and 28 touchdowns. He was only sacked 19 times, which, if you've ever watched an AAC offensive line, that's pretty decent. Only about 1.5 per game, letting those D lines through. Yeah, I just can't trust Iowa State here. They did have a good finish, like you guys said, but they started the season absolutely terribly. Coach Matt Campbell tried to fight a fan who heckled him after the week 2 loss to Iowa. Actually, I don't even think it was after. I think it was like as they were going into halftime. The guy just gave him a simple heckle, and Campbell lost it. They have righted the ship a little bit, but I'm going with offense over defense here and going with Memphis. Next up, we have the Cotton Bowl. Is number 9 Missouri taking on number 7 Ohio State? Andy, who do you like in this one?
This is a really tough one because I don't think we know who really is going to be available for Ohio State. I think Harrison Jr.'s status is still up in the air. I believe Travion Henderson hasn't announced what he's doing yet. But I do think that Mizzou's got Brady Cook playing. I think they've got Luther Burden III playing as well. And they've looked awesome this year. They really have something going down there in Columbia. They are 10-2 on the season. And I think they beat Ohio State here. I don't even know who Ohio State's backup quarterback is. I don't know who's playing because McCord is now at Syracuse. Weird. But yeah, there's too much up in the air for me to pick Ohio State.
All right, Tom, this team has your favorite coach here.
Yeah,
Want to tell us about it?
It's laughable that Ryan Day's team did not make it to New Year's Six. Kyle McCord to Syracuse, Marvin Harrison Jr. undecided. Apparently, McCord's two primary reasons for leaving: uncertainty about being the team's starter next year. There's rumors they've had their eyes on Cam Ward, as I'm looking now, and a desire for more money via NIL. So I'm looking at Missouri. They've only lost to LSU and Georgia. Brady Cook has had a really good season. Cody Schrader, north-south runner. I like him a lot, as well as Luther Burden III. Really good X receiver for them. He's an excellent route runner and creates space very well. Yeah, we don't know who's starting this game yet for Ohio State. It's a little bit ways away compared to some of these other games. With all the question marks for Ohio State, I can't feel comfortable picking them, and I think that's why Vegas has Missouri favored by 2.5 at this time. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going Tigers as well here. I'm sure Tom will love to hear that. Not going with scrub Ryan Day and his scrub team. But yeah, the most interesting thing to me, you brought up those two reasons about McCord transferring. I actually read a third one this morning, and it was basically that McCord was bullied almost into transferring by the way he was treated by the coaching staff, especially during his redshirt year. He had his redshirt burned by Ryan Day, putting him in a situation where he absolutely did not need to play. So I'm sure that played into it, along with the money as well. I mean, to me, I think it's probably a bigger reason than the money. If you're McCord, I don't think you're getting $1 million NIL contract. I'm sure he'll get some good money. He was on a very good Ohio State team. But yeah, I talked about the culture with Dabo. The stories that have come out, all of the players have been backing McCord about this whole bullying him situation by the staff. I don't like it. It's dirty. I don't see Marvin Harrison Jr. playing here. I don't think the game's that important. So, I mean, I got to go with Mizzou. Brady Cook, Cody Schrader look really good. Mizzou played Georgia really close. They've been a fun team to watch this year, so I'm going with the Tigers here. Next up, we have Ole Miss taking on Penn State in the Peach Bowl. These are our December 30th games. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, so, I mean, we were talking about it before the show. Drew Aller, only one interception on the year, but it's felt like anytime they've played a team that's worth a shit, they've absolutely pissed down their leg. They will need a lot from Nick Singleton and Katron Allen here. Katron with 126 carries for 851 yards and 6 tutties on the year, to Singleton's 163 carries for 702 and 8 touchdowns on the year. They've been one of the best running back tandems in the league, but will it be enough to beat Ole Miss? I know Penn State's favored, but I like the Rebels in this game. I believe Jackson Dart's playing. I believe they've got a bunch of guys coming back. They've really reloaded in the transfer portal as well. So yeah, give me Ole Miss here.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, Jackson Dart relies a lot on Trey Harris. His offensive line up front is stout. They're veterans. Quinshon Judkins on the ground is an animal. Penn State's front four will have to get pressure. Adisa Isaac must get to the quarterback. I don't think he'll be able to do it consistently. I do think points will be scored at premium in this game. Where Penn State's strengths also lie offensively, other than the running game, is their tight ends, because not Theo Johnson, but Drew Aller does not feel comfortable taking deep shots consistently yet at this level. And you want to see that progression next season. And I think it's interesting to see that each of their tight ends have 6 and 7 touchdowns, respectively, Theo Warren and Tyler Warren. This is a tough game to decide. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Penn State favored by 4. I am going to go with Ole Miss just because, again, whenever you're in doubt, whenever you're 50-50 on a game, what's my saying? You go with the SEC. You always go with the SEC. There's very few instances where you don't. It's kind of an unwritten rule, guys, and for me at least. everyone has their own opinions on that, but I'm going with Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think the CFP committee also has those same feelings as you. When in doubt, throw in the SEC team. But yeah, I just want to start out here. Big shout out to the state of New York, Tommy's home state, for forcing, or trying to force at least right now, Chick-fil-A to stay open on Sundays in food courts. Huge move by state of New York here. Shout out to the Peach Bowl as well, sponsored by Chick-fil-A. That'd be a big move, bigger than any transfer portal move we'll see all this offseason. If you're a Chick-fil-A fan, you know what's up. But yeah, both teams here averaging over 34 points per game. So I agree with Andy here that it's going to be a high-scoring one. Penn State's defense does have the edge. Excuse me, only allowing 11.4 points per game and a pretty impressive turnover margin of plus 18. But yeah, this is bowl season. Like I said earlier with the Memphis game, I'll take offense over defense every day. Allard, just like you said, he's not comfortable going deep, not comfortable taking risks. Yeah, it looks super good on paper. You know, I love those ratios, 23 touchdowns to 1 interception. But when you're doing little dinky passes, check downs, you're not going to win big games like that. And that's why Penn State lost all the big games they played. So I'm going with Coach Kiffin here, the lane train, and this Ole Miss offense. Next up, we have the Music City Bowl. It is Auburn versus Maryland. Andy, who do you like?
I actually like Maryland in this game. I don't trust Auburn. I know they're in the SEC, but Peyton Thorne's the quarterback. He has not looked very good this season. You have Talia Tagovailoa, who I believe is playing in this game. I believe it'll be his last year.
He opted out a few hours ago, actually.
Oh, fuck. Okay. That changes my answer then. No, Talia was going to be the reason that I picked them. He's one of 2 quarterbacks in the NCAA, along with Memphis' Seth Hennigan, who's thrown for more than 3,000 yards in each of the last 3 years. That's a big loss for Maryland. So change my answer. Give me the Tigers.
You gotta love bowl season. We get these live opt-outs every year. Tom, who do you like here?
Dual threat quarterback and Peyton Thorne. Rivaldo Fairweather at tight end with 6 on the season. A quarterback and a tight end connection is well bonded and cannot be underestimated. Talia is not playing. He doesn't have a tight end, so I'm going with Auburn.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they played a backup this season. I really like Talia at Maryland this year and last year. I know I brought up to Tom, only semi-jokingly, that maybe he could end up on the Giants one day. Tom was not a fan of that suggestion. But yeah, my biggest problem here with Maryland is that their 2 backup QBs, neither has thrown more than 10 times this season. So you lose Talia opting out here with his 33, almost 3,400 yards and 25 touchdowns. And, Peyton Thorne's not the best, but that puts Maryland in a worse situation here. Auburn did okay. They did take Alabama to the brink, playoff Alabama. So I think they're good enough to win this game against Maryland here. Next up, we have the Orange Bowl. Is anyone going to watch this game? Probably not. Andy, it's number 6 Georgia versus number 5 FSU. Who do you like in this one?
I mean, these are 2 teams that are just absolutely furious that they're not in the college football playoff. That I struggle to wonder if they're going to actually get up for this game. I think Florida State has an opportunity to go in there and make a statement. Like I said, if they win, I fully would support them claiming a national championship. But Georgia now 14-point favorites in this game. Carson Beck just announced he's coming back for another year. I believe he will start. But I believe like 12 players now have entered the transfer portal on the Georgia side. So they will be without a few different people. Tate Rodemaker back for Florida State, but I believe they'll be without their leading rusher. On the year. Trey Benson has declared for the NFL draft 905 yards and 14 touchdowns for the redshirt junior on the ground. So they're going to be missing a lot there. I just don't know if they're going to have enough to hang with Georgia. So give me the Bulldogs here.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game, and Georgia, the line continues to go up. Dijon Edwards, Kendall Milton. Milton averaged over 6 yards a carry this year. I mean, their running game was outstanding. Going behind Bowles up front, and Cedric Van Pran and Tate Ratledge, Amarius Mims, just to name a few, And Beck was solid this year. I mean, he was very underrated as a quarterback. He's my way too early pick for the Heisman next year. Over 3,700 passing yards. And Brock Bowers might play in this game. I don't think he will, but right now he has not made a verbal decision yet at this time of recording. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if not, Beck still has Oscar Dell, who filled in phenomenally this year when Bowers was out due to injury. They got a couple old boys in Lad McConkey, Dominic Lovett, and Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint, who are all, by the way, awesome name. They're all really good receivers, guys. Andy, the big name on defense, I think you're looking for, Jamon Dumas Johnson announced he is transferring. He was the leading linebacker in sacks this year for the Dogs. Yeah, Tyke Smith, Javon Bullard, and Malachi Starks. We'll see what happens with their futures, but those guys are legit in the secondary. Yeah, Rodemaker's going to have to make some interesting decisions in this game without Trey Benson. Johnny Wilson is sitting out as well to prepare for the draft. Jared Verse is out on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, we'll see what happens in this game if we get some fans protesting, whatnot. If the governor shows up, we'll have to see what happens in this game. But in the Orange Bowl, I am going with Georgia. Georgia with ease. This game will not be close.
Yeah, I really wasn't joking when I asked if anyone's going to watch this game. I don't think any fan of either team is interested in this game. The players are certainly not interested in this game. I think both teams are going in with 0 cares and very close to 0 players with the amount of opt-outs and players hitting the transfer portal. One of the interesting ones actually is that Georgia player Marvin Jones Jr., a nice 4-star, pretty good player, transferred from Georgia to Florida State. So maybe he'll be in the stands seeing how his new team does against his old team. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to even think about this game. I don't think I'm going to turn it on at a protest. I'm sure that's going to do a lot, but yeah, I guess Georgia's probably going to have the most players with the most reps already stick in this game. And then, like you said, Carson Beck is probably going to be a lot better than Rodemaker here. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs. Next up, we have Toledo taking on Wyoming in the Arizona Bowl. Andy, who do you like here?
This is going to be a tough one for the Rockets there without Daquan Finn, who actually entered the transfer portal and has committed to Baylor. So he will spend his last year of college football in Waco and be the quarterback of the Baylor Bears this year. 2,600 yards, 22 touchdowns to 9 picks, ran for 563 on the ground, as well as 7 scores. Toledo is a really good football team, guys. 11-2. Their only losses on the year were to my Illini on a last-second field goal the first game of the season, and then they did end up dropping the MAC championship game to Miami of Ohio a couple weeks ago. They're going to look to Tucker Gleason to lead them in this game under center. He's appeared a few times on the year, mostly in garbage time. So we'll see if they're able to overcome that. Craig Bohl, the head coach of the Wyoming Cowboys, announced he will be retiring after this season. This will be his final game. I look for the Cowboys to send him out a winner as they return most of their production and don't really have too many opt-outs for this game. So give me Wyoming.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, Andy mentioned that they lost their first and last game of the season with 11 wins sandwiched in between. So you really have to look at this game and say what they're going to do with Gleason at quarterback. Penny Boone is the catalyst offensively. Can they stop Wyoming's running game on the other side of the ball? Judge Culpepper, 9 sacks at the DT position at the 1-tech. Andrew Peasley is a mobile quarterback. I know Wyoming's favored, but I think I'm going to go the other way here. Even with the backup quarterback, I'm high on Toledo. I still am. Yeah, Finn's not there. He's going to Baylor. But there's still guys on that roster that can make plays. I think it's going to be a very, very competitive game. But, yeah, this is a game where I trust what I've seen more this season. They've come a long, long way since that loss to Illinois.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm leaning Toledo as well. I might have gone Wyoming here had they done well in one of the games they were actually, tested in. But late in the season, I know they're both away games, but against UNLV and Boise State, they lose those games 32-7 and 34-14. So Toledo is probably going to be the 3rd best team they play this year, and based on the performances against those first 2, it's a bowl game, so anything can happen here. But yeah, I'm going to go Toledo for sure. Daquan Boone, not there obviously, but a player that I did have here as a player to watch, Penny Boone, with those 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. So I'm going to go with the Rockets. Next up, we have the ReliaQuest Bowl. It is Wisconsin versus LSU. This one also down here in sunny Florida. It's a brisk 52 degrees here right now. Andy, who do you like in this one? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So this one, I feel like Wisconsin might be a little bit overmatched here. Braylon Allen has opted out of the bowl game. He's their leading rusher, 984 yards on the year, 12 touchdowns. Skylar Bell, a receiver for the Badgers, 38 receptions on the year, has entered the transfer portal, and he will not play. I believe Jalen Daniels has opted out. I don't think he's going to play. Malik Neighbors, is he? I think he said he wants to play in the bowl game, but I don't know if that status has changed or not. When I looked today, LSU is favored by 9.5. And I think they will have no problem covering that spread and winning the game. I just don't think Wisconsin has enough to hang with the talent of LSU.
Yeah, that'd be a risky move if Neighbors does play this game. Tom, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I'm seeing conflicting reports on Neighbors, but I think he is leaning towards playing. Braylon Allen out for Wisconsin. Jaden Daniels out for LSU. Ryan Thomas Jr. announced by Brian Kelly will play with those 15 touchdowns on the season. I mean, we have to give Brian Kelly so much credit this season. Yes, they're 9-3, but he produced a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. All the shit this man has taken over the past 2 years. A win over Alabama. I mean, they've done a lot. The next step for LSU is, can they make the college football playoff next year? That's what I want to see them do. And Grant Nussmeier will start. Tanner Mordecai, I believe, for Wisconsin. LSU wins, and I think they cover 7.5. The Relia Quest Bowl. Interesting name.
Yeah. This one for me, I think I'm leaning LSU as well. Like you guys said, the talent just too much on LSU side. If you've got guys like Neighbors thinking about playing this game for whatever reason, I don't know why you would want to. Yeah, the fight is still there. The big dogs still want to come out and play for this one. Wisconsin is looked okay, but I think they've had a down season, if we're being honest. Obviously, you don't want to lose Braylon Allen at any point because he's your main producer. And it's just wild that he's going to the draft already. It seemed like we were just joking about him being only 17 years old on the field for the Badgers. For anyone listening, his birthday, if you're interested, January 20th, 2004. And this kid is going to the NFL. So, but yeah, I mean, both teams get to visit sunny Tampa. Probably hit up the beaches here as they do for those fun and games that they do the week of. So I'm going to go LSU here. Next up, we have Oregon taking on Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl. Like I said earlier, Liberty sneaking in by one place in the rankings over SMU into this New Year's Six Bowl. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, I'm going to take Oregon. They're favored by 17.5, and I think they cover the spread. Look, Liberty's had a great year. They're 13-0. They were deemed the best G5 team, and they won the Conference USA championship. They beat New Mexico State, albeit after Pavia left with an injury. My boy Diego football. But Caden Slater has had an incredible year for the Flames. He's been really fun to watch. They're one of the best offenses in the country, 500 plus yards a game, 40 points, but they have not played anybody near the level of talent that Oregon possesses. This will be Bo Nix's last game in a college uniform. They will be, I'm sure he will be ready to go, trying to put on a show and go out with a bang. I fully expect them to cover the 17.5 points and beat Liberty.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, this is a large spread against an undefeated team, but a G5 team as well. And Liberty, credit to them, they're ranked. Yeah, great job by Liberty this year running the table. In addition to the quarterback, Quentin Cooley at running back, averaging 6.2 yards a carry and 16 touchdowns. C.J. Daniels is a threat on the boundary, so Oregon will have their hands tied. The Flames have forced 21 interceptions on defense this year. Phenomenal number for 13 games. Oregon, they're getting Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore next year. Ty Thompson is transferring out, so that might be why the two quarterbacks. We get Gabriel for 2024 and then Dante Moore for beyond. Probably redshirt Moore next year. Bucky Irving and Jordan James still in the backfield. Knicks will play. Troy Franklin has also declared for the NFL draft. I don't know if he's playing. I'd imagine he is if Bo Nix is. And then Tez Johnson, guys, another 1,000-yard receiver with 9 touchdowns. Oregon wins, and Oregon covers the 17-point spread.
So are we? I didn't have time to look this one up. Bo Nix confirmed playing in this one?
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that makes this one super easy. You got to go with the Ducks here. Listen, Liberty did have a heck of a season. They go 13-0. Their offense, like Andy said, they produce a lot, but can't produce against this stout Oregon defense. It's a really good defense. I know they had both those losses to Washington, obviously, but I mean, that again that's a super offense right there behind Michael Penix Jr. So besides those two games, their defenses look really good. I don't think Caden Salter, despite the season he had, is going to be able to break down this Ducks defense. So I'm going with Oregon. And then our last game on the slate here is the Citrus Bowl. It's number 17 Iowa, our favorite team here, of course, taking on number 21 Tennessee. Andy, who do you like?
Give me the Volunteers. I just do not believe this Iowa offense has enough to keep up. The defense, they're still without Cooper DeJean, and they've been outstanding all year. But I just do not think. I mean, they can't possibly do it again, can they? Tennessee will be without. I believe it's Wright in the backfield, over 1,000-yard rusher this year. He has opted out of the game. Other than that, they've had some guys enter the transfer portal. But I do believe Mixon is playing, and I like the Volunteers to win this one.
All right, Tom.
Did you guys hear the rumor of who Iowa's next offensive coordinator might be?
Scott Frost.
Joe Philbin, former Dolphins head coach, if that rings a bell. That would be an interesting hire. On top of Cooper DeJean for Iowa defensively, Jay Higgins, their leading tackler, is undecided. Their second best DB, Sebastian Castro, also undecided. It's not a certainty Joe Milton, the third, will play in this game either. It seems like nobody's for sure, but there's one thing that is sure. Edge rusher Tyler Barron has committed to Ole Miss. He goes from Tennessee to Ole Miss. So that's a big blow for Tennessee. Again, it's hard to pick any team to beat Iowa by a lot of points, but we saw what happened in the Big Ten title game. So I like Tennessee here as well due to the fact that Iowa just can't score. They can't do it. And this, again, Big Ten, SEC. That's what they call it.
Tom, are you sure you weren't in that CFB committee room trying to get Alabama to sneak in there at number 4?
Might have been there, actually.
With all this pro SEC talk. But no, I agree with you. You do go with the SEC team here. There's no way I'm picking Iowa here. It's been one of the most awful experiences to watch this team this year. They produced absolutely nothing of value. God, I mean, at least what I can say to end the season on a positive note is they're getting rid of the nepotism, kicking Brian Ferentz out. So maybe their offense has a pulse next year, but I don't know. Despite the fact that a bunch of Tennessee players are uncertain here, you don't root for Iowa here. Come on. I'm going with the Vols. And that'll wrap up the last 22 games of bowl season. But of course, we got to hit you with our parlay party, our weekly parlay party here. We got a bunch of games for this one. We had 18 last week, 22 to choose from this week. No requirements. Bet what you want. Andy, we'll start with you. Run us through your parlay.
So I got 4 picks here, plus 1363. I'll go in chronological order. I'm taking Arizona money line. That's December 28th, 8:15 Central Time. They are taking on Oklahoma. For the reasons I talked about earlier on the show, I just think a lot is going to be stacked up against the Sooners. Arizona finished the season very, very nicely. Next up will be the 29th. The next day, I'm going to take Missouri money line against Ohio State. That's 7 o'clock Central Time. Next, after that, I will be taking Ole Miss money line plus 142. That's on the 30th at 11 a.m. against Penn State. And then finally, my last pick, January 1st, Oregon minus 17.5 against Liberty. I'm confident in the Ducks that they're going to win and cover, hopefully, end this parlay party on a high note for me. Finally get me a fucking win.
Here's open. Because I need one as well. Tom, run us through your parlay.
Well, things happen in threes, so I'm looking for a third here. My 5 legs. First up, I got Oklahoma State plus 2.5 against Texas A&M. Checks in at minus 112. Texas A&M has been a dumpster fire program for the past 2 seasons now. And again, they just hired a new head coach for next season, but he's not in place yet. So I'm rolling with Oklahoma State on this one and Gundyland. Next up, similar to Andy, I'm taking Arizona money line over Oklahoma. Shocking. This checks in at minus 148, but without Dylan Gabriel, I guess that's what it is. Might as well take it. Missouri money line against Ohio State, minus 112. We don't know for sure who's starting at quarterback for Ohio State, so I really like Missouri in this one. Georgia, minus 14 against FSU. Georgia will prove why they deserve to be in the college football playoff in their eyes. Not mine, in their eyes. See what you did there, Mr. Hopper. And Wyoming and Toledo over 44.5. 2 teams that could score the football. Yeah, no Daquan Finn. That's okay. I still think 44.5 is a reasonable number. Minus 110. Odds are plus 2069, $10 for 216.95.
I love it. I saw Andy's at almost plus 1400, and I loved it going big. And then you send that one in. You're just trying to flex on us because you got the win, going for that plus 2000 hitter. I love it. Going into mine, also winless this season. Me and Andy just can't catch a break so far. Had a few go one win away from hitting, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But my card, West Virginia minus 6.5 versus UNC. UNC loses too much production. Their defense is straight ass. I think West Virginia is good enough to win here by a touchdown. Next up, Oklahoma State and Texas A&M under 53. Both teams struggled a bit late in the season. Texas A&M as a team still in a bit of a flux. After the Jimbo Fisher firing, Max Johnson gone at QB. I think we get a low-scoring one there. Arizona -3 versus Oklahoma. Kind of wish I went with Tom on this one. I just did a money line. I kind of wanted like a -2.5, but the game is so far ahead that they don't have alternate spreads yet. So I'm stuck with -3. OU just lost too much production. You lose Dylan Gabriel, excuse me. Yeah, the defense is still going to look good with Bowman and Stutzman there. But Arizona just looks so good. It looks so fun. I got to root for them and put them on my card at least once this season. And then last we have Wisconsin LSU under 55. I think Wisconsin, they're not going to win this game, Wisconsin. They're not even going to come close to winning, I don't think. But I think they're still good enough to keep a Jaden Daniels-less LSU in check somewhat on the scoreboard. So I'm expecting like a 35-10 LSU win here. And that wraps up my parlay for plus 1205, $10 to win, 130.58. Crossing my fingers, me and Andy can hit the big one. We'll throw Tom in there as well. We'll give him 2 wins, all right? The guy's been riding with his win for a few weeks now, but we'll give him another one. Yeah, that'll wrap up part 2 of our Bull Show. Enjoy all 22 games. We had the playoff games in here for a second, but we decided to split it because, as you can see, if you've made it to the end, we went so long here. But down in the description, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you made it to the end, hit it for Andy's show as well down in the description, and Tom's show as well, also down in the description. Enjoy the games. We will see everyone just before New Year's for the playoff games. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the games.